there background noise? Seems to be background noise. Is there background noise? ॐ प्रातस्मरामि हृदि संस्फुरदात्मतत्त्वम् सच्चित्सुखं परमहंसगतिं तुरीयम् यत्स्वप्नजागरसुषुप्तमवैति नित्यं तद्ब्रह्म निष्कलमहं न च भूतसङ्गः तपोभिक्षीणपापानां शान्तानां वीतरागिणां मुमुक्षूणामपेक्षोऽयम् आत्मबोधो विधीयते बोधोऽन्यसाधनेभ्यो हि साक्षान्मोक्षैकसाधनम् पाकस्य वह्निवज्ञानं विना मोक्षो न सिद्ध्यति। We'll chant from verse number 18. 18 or 19? 19. Yeah, 19. Verse number 19 to 23. We'll chant. Okay. यथा दीपो निवातस्थः नेङ्गते सोपमा स्मृता योगिनो यतचित्तस्य युञ्जतो योगमात्मनः यथा दीपो निवातस्थः नेङ्गते सोपमा स्मृता योगिनो यतचित्तस्य युञ्जतो योगमात्मनः यत्रो परमते चित्तं निरुद्धं योगसेवया यत्र चैवात्मनात्मानं पश्यन्नात्मनि तुष्यति यत्रो परमते चित्तं निरुद्धं योगसेवया यत्र चैवात्मनात्मानं पश्यन्नात्मनि तुष्यति सुखमात्यन्तिकं यत्तद् बुद्धिग्राहमतीन्द्रियं वेत्ति यत्र न चैवायं स्थितश्चलति तत्त्वतः सुखमात्यन्तिकं यत्तद् बुद्धिग्राहमतीन्द्रियं वेत्ति यत्र न चैवायं स्थितश्चलति तत्त्वतः यं लब्ध्वा चापरं लाभं मन्यते नाधिकं ततः यस्मिन् स्थितो न दुःखेन गुरुणापि विचाल्यते यं लब्ध्वा चापरं लाभं मन्यते नाधिकं ततः यस्मिन् स्थितो न दुःखेन गुरुणापि विचाल्यते तं विद्या दुःखसंयोगात् वियोगं योगसंज्ञितं स निश्चयेन योक्तव्यः योगो निर्वाणचेतसा न विद्या दुःखसंयोगं वियोगं योगसंज्ञितं स निश्चयेन योक्तव्यः योगो निर्विण्णचेतसा. Okay. Hari Om, good morning. Thank you so much for joining.
Hari Om, Ram, Go.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
How's this? Is this better in the light or without the light?
You are definitely not in Gurgaon because we get so much of pollution. The sun is hiding behind the pollution.
I am not in. I am in Bengal.
Where the sun rises earlier than it rises in Gurgaon anyway.
It does. But what looks better, the sun or no sun?
No sun.
Okay. I thought the sun looks epic, like, and make me look enlightened or something. Okay. Yes, we'll start with any questions.
Sir, when you chanted verse 23, you have added Sanyogam. Why a ma has been added in the first line?
Let me see. No, it should be some yoga. I think the second time I chanted it, I made a mistake. And I made it yogam. It should be yoga. Yes, Prachi, Ankit.
So I had a question where we were discussing about our actions in the world or how much we indulge or refrain from the world in the last class, and I had come across something where they were talking about how eating onion and garlic or something like that can influence you to be more rajasic or tamasic or create more desires. But I just wanted to clarify that maybe we've discussed it earlier that the gross doesn't influence the subtle.
Yeah.
So do you think like eating certain kinds of food or partaking in certain kind of activities may influence us to create more desires versus, or is it that the kind of thoughts that we hold in our daily lives while taking part in these activities of food, that will, I'm just clarifying whether the food or something else can influence our the amount of desires we have or not.
The other day I had a Panditji visit my house, and he's renowned in Calcutta circles at least, and he paid us a visit, and we had to cook food without onion and garlic, and let me tell you, it was damn tasty. I told my cook, yeah, if you can cook me food without onion and garlic like this, I'll eat it. But coming to the point, the gross doesn't control the subtle. That's the principle, right? The gross cannot control, cannot change, cannot cause a change in the subtle. However, the gross can influence the subtle. And what is the meaning of influence, right? Please go back to the analogy of your mind being a garden. Your mind is a garden. Okay. Now, the environment is like the kind of temperature and pressure, is the kind of water you provide, right? So, certain foods, not just onion and garlic or anything else, um, they only influence a certain aspect of you which is already there to emerge. Like we say, we are an admixture of sattva, rajas, tamas. We are all a combination of sattva, rajas, tamas. Right? It's not that the onion and garlic will create rajas in us, but whatever rajas is there, it will promote it. In that sense, it's influencing it. Right? If I practice self-control and do not overeat, there will be a certain consequence. If I fail to practice self-control and do overeat, it will have a certain consequence. Now, what is the parameters influencing my decision whether to eat or not to eat? Is there an advertisement up there showing how, you've seen those any food advertisement they'll show, especially these McDonald's advertisements, they'll show the patty perfectly falling on the bun, that three-dimensional beautiful which you never see in the actual burger, they make it attractive. All of that influences your decision. Your perception influences your decision. Your environment influences your decision. Similarly, what kind of environment bodily you set for yourself influences your decisions. So onion and garlic is said to influence rajasic temperament. So whatever there is in you, it comes out. This becomes particularly important for those who are doing very deep sadhana, who have to be very conscious of even what thoughts and emotions arise in their deep meditations. Okay. For the bulk of us who are not at that stage or do not have that goal yet, it doesn't make that much of a difference. It's not going to make you an evil person eating onion and garlic, right? But these are just subtle influences that foods have, any food will have upon you. Certain foods will promote whatever sattva is there. Certain foods will promote rajas, right? Especially in meditation, you want to avoid you want to keep that entire garden barren, right? So particularly people who are doing certain types of sadhana and who are in certain fields, they have such practices. This is purely from a sadhana perspective. Then there are others who don't eat onion and garlic from an ethical perspective, like say Jains and stuff like that. Those are other reasons which we are not sort of getting into. But any food, onion and garlic.
That's not just about onion garlic. That was just sort of a means to represent any gross thing that might influence your subtle thoughts.
You can't blame what I'm trying to say is that you can't blame the gross. The rajas is already in you.
Yeah, okay.
The sattva is already in you, the rajas is already in you, the tamas is already in you. When rajas expresses, it creates more rajas. That's how, being rajasic makes you more rajasic. Being sattvic makes you more sattvic. Being tamasic perpetuates tamas, right? So it's not the onion and garlic. Onion and garlic is just or whatever. No, it's not the environment you can blame. You can't blame the bar for making you an alcoholic. But yes, the bar influences your decision to indulge in alcohol and then perpetuate your habit of being an alcoholic.
So can I just ask, you have a rajasic tendency and that's why I'm just taking onion garlic like a placeholder. So say you are rajasic, you have rajasic tendencies, that's why you're choosing onion and garlic food. And then that is sort of going to again perpetuate, like you said, more desire towards that food or that activity. and then you're going to be more rajasic. So, in terms of, is it right to say that if you want to be more sattvic, you'll have to refrain from contacting that onion and garlic activity?
You'll have to you'll have to regulate it,
Okay.
right? And what that means for us in common parlance is not take copious amounts of it. And frankly, since you said onion and garlic is a placeholder, but uh, you know, for example, to live a normal, socially acceptable, reasonable life, you have to have a control over your indulgences. It's as simple as that, right? For a sadhana, you have to have much more control. It's a difference of degree.
What you're doing.
Indulgence is at one extreme, sadhana is at one extreme. The level of control is a difference of degree. And what to control also, you know. But the same principles holds true when you're leading the life of a normal average human being. And the same principle heightened, that self-regulation, self-awareness, holds true when you are doing sadhana. So you, if it's well known, to make any change in yourself, you have to make changes in your habits. Yes, how do you have to do it? Through atomic habits. You can't change habits overnight. You can't make drastic changes. It will only rebound. Right? You have to make small incremental changes, but changes you must. Right? Regulating from what you eat to what you see to who you meet, what kind of company you keep, what you speak about. Right? This matters.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yes, Rashmiji.
So I have a question from chapter 4, verse 25.
Oh, because I sent you there last class.
Yeah, and sir, I realized I had missed that class. So
Yeah.
my questions had
Very
not.
important class you missed.
So verse 25, almost the last paragraph. This in verse 10, that's where I start. In verse 10 of chapter 3, Krishna says this whole thing. And then in the end, where my question is actually, is so if creation is to fold back to its very source of Brahman, then Yagna will be the last to dissolve. When Yagna itself is given up, creation can no longer be sustained. The dissolution of the created world marks the unfoldment of Brahman. Hence, this verse claims that you reach Brahman by oblating the very capacity to sacrifice, by offering yagna into the fire of Brahman. So, this thing about the dissolution of the created world marks the unfoldment. Hence, this verse claims that you reach Brahman by oblating the very capacity to sacrifice. Frankly speaking, sir, this whole portion I've not understood.
Even I've not understood.
There's so many words, I think.
See, our job is to break down these concepts into simpler ways of understanding. Okay. Eventually, you have to tune yourself to that frequency of contemplating upon what is enlightenment, what is self-realization, because this is the topic being discussed out here, right? This is the ultimate yajna. The ultimate yajna is the yajna of sacrifice itself. If creation is to fold back into its very source of Brahman, yajna will be the last to dissolve. When yajna itself is given up, creation can no longer be sustained. Dissolution of the created world marks the unfoldment of Brahman. What is the actual verse? The actual verse is that some yogis perform sacrifice to gods, others perform sacrifice by offering sacrifice itself in the fire of Brahman. It's probably one of the most mystical verses of the Bhagavad Gita. What a class you chose to miss. So this is the yajna of intention or goal. What is your goal? Some yogis perform sacrifice to gods, deities, devaha, daivam, and others perform sacrifice by offering sacrifice itself in the fire of Brahman. There are others who have a different purpose, perhaps one can call it a higher purpose. So, performing sacrifice to gods means functioning in a spirit of yajna for your mundane goals. Gods and goddesses are a conception of our great rishis. Gods and goddesses are identities given to powers of the universe, essentially. To make the human mind envisage the largesse of this created world, to recognize the grandeur and infinitude of this created world. Wherever the human mind went, instead of personalizing and seeing it in their own egoistic way, a god or a goddess was sort of posited, essentially. If your mind went to wealth, if it went to health, if it went to power, if it went to fame, if it went to freedom from disease, if it went to everything, went to knowledge, wherever there is, you can think of a devta, right? So the idea is that in any endeavor, you are not doing anything for your own personal gain or out of your own egoistic effort. You're doing it as an offering to the deity, and that deity is blessing you. So anything you receive in life is a blessing of the deity for which you have offered your efforts, right? So this is a beautiful way of conceiving that even mundane activity can be divinized in some sense. But all of this is to receive blessings to sustain oneself in this world, with more health, more wealth, more fame, more prosperity, more comfort, more love, more enjoyment, right? But then there are those who conceive a goal higher than this, who conceive a goal to get to the very source of the mystery of the world. Those who conceive the path of enlightenment, those who conceive the path of awakening. And to them, he's talking about in this second portion. Others perform sacrifice by offering sacrifice itself in the fire of Brahman. So in a yajna, the fire represents the goal, the deity. So earlier yogis perform sacrifice to gods. Some yogis who conceive enlightenment as the ultimate goal and the true goal, they offer their efforts into the fire of Brahman. The goal is Brahman itself, nothing else. I don't want Devi Devta, nothing. I want Brahman. And they offer sacrifice itself. What do they offer? They offer their sacrifice itself. They offer their kartritva bhavana. They offer the very idea of yajna. So now comes your question, because he's referencing chapter 3 verse number 10 in this paragraph. In chapter 3 verse number 10, Krishna said that the creator created humanity with the power of yajna. Yajna signifies actions dedicated to higher, though yajna activities people enjoy prosperity and peace. In verse number 10 of chapter 3, if you go back, he's given a beautiful sort of theory of creation, that yajna was created as the milch cow of creation, as a kamadhuk. Kamadhuk means yajna is the real kamadhenu. We go pray for kamadhenu, I wish I get kamadhenu. No, yajna is the real kamadhenu. If you function in the spirit of yajna, you'll be showered with everything, right? So yajna was the first sort of potent power which created the multitude and helps in promoting peace and prosperity. It's symbolic, it's not meant to be taken literally, right? The idea is that this world is sustained in the spirit of yajna. Everything is performing its function to the best of its ability, and that's how it's functioning. The beautiful sun is rising and it's shining for us. I think one of these Persian poets said, even after all these years, the sun never asked the earth, "You owe me." Even after all these years, the sun never tells the earth, "You owe me." You heard that quote? Even after all these years, the sun never tells the earth, "You owe me." Look what happens with a love like that. It shines the whole world. That's yajna. Doing what I can do to the best of my ability is not thinking about what I'm getting, what I'm giving. No, I'm designed to do this. Let me do it. I am the sun. My job is to shine. Let me shine. I'm not thinking about who's benefiting from my shine, who's not benefiting from my shine. I'll shine better for them. I'll not shine for them. Yajna. Through yajna, people enjoy prosperity and peace. That's a given. That's the milch cow of. So yajna is the very power with which this world has been created and flourished. Now, enlightenment is that state where the world is retracted back, folded back to its source. You're shutting out the world ultimately, right? That's that inner journey. Then you're slowly folding it back. So if creation is to fold back to its very source of Brahman, from Brahman, the entire world was created. And yajna was the power with which this world was created and flourished. So if creation is to fold back, yajna will be the last thing that will dissolve. It's because it's the very source with which everything has been created. It's the last thing that will dissolve. It's that last offering. What more can you offer? Earlier you are offering the products of your yajna. Earlier you are offering your wealth. You go and offer wealth to the deity. You offer your service to the deity. You offer your time to the deity. No, all of these are a creation of your yajna. Ultimately, you will have to offer that yajna itself. That I am the doer. I am doing this. When yajna itself is given up, creation is not sustained. This dissolution of the created universe marks the unfoldment of Brahman. Look, he's being poetic and philosophical. He's using these philosophical terms, but I'm trying to break it up into a simple concept for you. That yajna is the last thing to dissolve, and when that yajna dissolves, the world dissolves, you gain enlightenment. It simply means when you give up kartritva bhavana, when you give up that entire self-identity, that full, see, he's talking about that ultimate state of meditation. He's referring to that ultimate state of meditation where you lose entire consciousness of your ego. Starting from your body, you've forgotten your body. In the depth of meditation, there is no my body for hours and hours and hours. The mind has been completely dissolved. Only a single thought of the mantra, right? This dissolution of the created world, starting from the physical to the non-physical world, marks the unfoldment of Brahman. So to reach Brahman, you have to oblate, you have to offer the very capacity of sacrifice. You have to oblate that. In simple terms, you have to give up kartritva bhavana, aham bhavana. You give that up, you'll gain enlightenment. Now the nuances of how to give it up, when to give it up, what to give it up, we'll talk about when you come to it. When you come to the seat of meditation, we'll meet up for coffee and we'll chat about it. What the nuances? Yeah.
Thank
Yeah. It made more sense, little more sense.
I also went through your video from the last class. So
That's too much dedication. I'm impressed.
no, there was no. I was free yesterday.
Acha, okay. I'll already declare you class member of the month. So I hope it made more sense. I'm going to stop joking. Bad habit of making a joke out of everything.
Yes, it did make sense.
Okay, verse number 19. Beautiful simile. Coming back to the yoga of meditation. Look, we're in a very sacred chapter because this is the ultimate practice of human existence. The state of meditation is that sacred practice by which you ultimately find yourself. You culminate this journey, this such. And while it may sound Greek to many of us right now, if we listen attentively to what it is indicating to, someday these words will um, really carry their weight for us. So today you are starting your journey with chapter 6 of the Bhagavad Gita, but it's something that will carry on with you till the culmination of your journey, whenever that is. So with that thought, we'll continue verse number 19 of chapter 6. यथा दीपो निवातस्थः नेङ्गते सोपमा स्मृता योगिनो यतचित्तस्य युञ्जतो योगमात्मनः. As a lamp in a windless place does not flicker. As a lamp in a windless place does not flicker. That simile reflects a yogi with subdued mind practicing union with the self. As a lamp in a windless place does not flicker. This is an analogy, a simile to describe this internal state of a yogi. So far, we've been talking about a yogi and their qualities and the meditation and this and that, and he puts it in a beautiful picture. Imagine the mind of a yogi. The thoughts and desires and emotions of the mind are like the wind. And what happens when the wind blows? That lamp flickers, right? The flame flickers. Similarly, thoughts and emotions cause agitation, cause that fire within you to burn out, cause suffering, and ultimately it blows out the lamp. But you are the lamp and your mind is the wind. The mind of a yogi is completely calm, like a windless place. It's stationary. Your mind has been subdued. Coming to this place is the challenging part, right? How do you subdue this mind? And it has to be dealt with very delicately. It has to be dealt with very carefully. You have to treat the mind like a child. Not the child that you spoil and uh, turn rotten. A child, ideally, you would, of course, nurture, cater to, but at the same time want to see grow, right? If your mind forever remains like a child, if it remains all forever a toddler, at the drop of a hat is crying. After a point, you'll go tired of that toddler, man. Grow up, bugger. When it's a toddler, you understand. You treat it like a toddler, but you'll want to nurture it to grow. So it has to be slowly nurtured. In a couple of verses, he'll say, Shanai, Shanai. Slowly. This mind has to be nurtured. Right? And ultimately, when you have helped it mature to the ultimate state. I'm currently reading a book by Om Swami on meditation. It's wonderfully coinciding with this chapter itself, and where he describes the various states your mind goes through in meditation itself. First of all, coming to the state of meditation itself is a lot of work, and then in meditation itself, how slowly, initially the mind will rebel, and what practices you have to do, etc., etc., etc. In that ultimate place, the mind is windless. In the depth of meditation, where you've reached a certain depth in your meditation, for hours and hours, not a single disturbance, not a single jhoka, as I say, hawa ka jhoka, right? It's a beautiful state that can be achieved by you and me if we put in sufficient work. The truth remains that the rare one achieves it. That's a different point. But just because the rare one achieves it doesn't make it impossible for you and me to achieve. Anyone with Shraddha, anyone with a complete dedication can reach that place. The truth remains that you help yourself, you make yourself, you mar yourself. So as a lamp in a windless place, the yogi is completely unperturbed and undisturbed in the depths of their meditation for hours and hours. That's a state which needs to be reached ultimately in emptying yourself. Empty yourself and I shall fill thee, right? So that process of emptying oneself is actually emptying the mind. So a beautiful vision, a beautiful simile we get of a yogi sitting in silent meditation. No thoughts coming to disturb. They have crossed that stage long ago. They have grown from that stage long ago. That's a place where we should aspire to reach, where we can sit in quietude, if not for a couple of hours, at least for a couple of minutes. And how do you start to do that? That's the important part. How do you start to do that? Become a sakshi to your thoughts. You don't have to react to every thought that crosses your mind. Every day for a couple of days, sit quietly. And naturally your mind will want to throw up all sorts of thoughts in your awakened mind. Just do one practice. If any thought enters, gently let it pass. I think I read a beautiful part of a poem. I don't know. I had saved it somewhere. I was clearing some photos from my iPhone gallery, and sometimes we take screenshots of beautiful poems and stuff like that. So I had taken a screenshot. It was from some Western poet, but a beautiful, again, an analogy they gave. Be like the moon. Be like the moon that lets the cloud pass. The cloud that's covering its shine, the cloud that's covering its light. It doesn't fight against it. It just lets it pass. So the shine in you, the radiance of the self in you, don't fight the clouds that are covering it. Be like the moon. Let the clouds just pass. That practice, even if you can't perfect it like a yogi, it'll help you tremendously in your own life in dealing with your day-to-day experiences. That's Sakshi Bhav. You don't need to react to everything. Couple of minutes. Okay. Verse number 20. Yatro paramate chittam niruddham yoga sevaya yatra chaivatmanatmanam pashyannatmani tushyati. Yatro paramate chittam niruddham yoga sevaya yatra chaivatmanatmanam pashyannatmani tushyati. Yatra, tatra. When, then. Yatra, when, tatra, then. When, yatra, uparamate chittam. When the mind comes to rest. When the mind comes to rest. How? Niruddham yoga sevaya. Through all this yoga that we've been talking about, starting with karma, bhakti, jnana yoga, and growing into Dhyana Yoga. Karma Bhakti Jnana prepares the field. Dhyan is what settles you in. So when the mind restrained by the practice of Karma Bhakti Jnana Dhyana Yoga comes to rest, and when seeing the self alone by the self, it is satisfied by the self. In that complete state of quietude, in that complete state of vacancy, in that complete thoughtless state, there's nothing there. There's no I, there's no me, there's no anybody else, there's no body, there's no things. It's a complete vacant state of existence in the depth of meditation. Total quietude, total silence. There, it's not nothing. The self is there. Seeing the self by the self. Who's seeing the self? Oneself is seeing the self. So in that complete quietude, there's nothing else to see. Only the source, only the adhar, only the substratum is seen. You've removed all the chadars, you've removed all the layers, you've removed all the coverings, and now you're seeing the source. The self alone by the self, it is satisfied in the self. You experience a deep sense of satisfaction, a sense of peace, a sense of fullness which cannot be explained. This is what has been claimed by the conviction through the experience of hundreds and scores of sages who have reached the state. Yallabhan na param labham, yat sukhan na param sukham, yajñatva na param jnanam, tad brahmetya vadharayet. The state of Brahman, the state of enlightenment, greater than any gain one can conceive, far more blissed out than any bliss one can experience, far more insightful than any knowledge one can gain. It's greater than anything you can conceive. You gain tushyati, true satisfaction. Until you reach the state, there'll always be something to complain about. There'll always be some irritation. There'll always be something missing. And this is a state that you and I can achieve. If not now, then sometime later we must achieve. Verse number 21. Sukhamatyantikam yattat buddhi yoga matindriyam veti yatra na chaivayam sthitaschalati tatvatah. Sukhamatyantikam yattat buddhi buddhigrahya matindriyam veti yatra na chaivayam sthitaschalati tatvatah. Sukham atyantikam, infinite bliss. Yat, again, yatra, yat. Yat is when. When he knows the sukham atyantikam, the supreme bliss, greater than any bliss, which can be grasped by the intellect, which transcends the senses, and wherein established he never moves from reality. So, continuing to talk about that yogi, when he experiences that tushyati, extreme satisfaction, I can't explain it, you can't explain it. Yaha pashyati saha pashyati. Yaha pashyati saha pashyati. Spiritual bliss only makes sense to those who are looking for it, who are hungry for more, who have been satiated by what the world has to offer. See, if you're happy with a little bit of money, tathastu. If you're happy with a little bit of affection, tathastu. If you're happy with a little bit of knowledge and a little bit of fame and respect, tathastu. May it be yours. But if you realize that I want more, the spiritual path is the greediest path. And nothing that the world is offering you will satisfy. No, I'm not going to settle for this. I know there's more to be gained. I want more. Your soul, which is the abode of infinite bliss, is seeking that, is seeking tushyati, is seeking this infinite bliss, sukham atyantikam, endless bliss. So when that yogi finds that sukham atyantikam in the depth of meditation, when the yogi knows the supreme bliss, which can be grasped by the intellect, he uses the term out here, yat tat buddhi grahya matindriyam. He uses the term buddhi. Buddhi grahyam. Interestingly, I just read a commentary the other day where the term buddhi was translated as pure mind. And it really got me thinking, is that really different? What is a pure mind? A pure mind is a mind that has been cleaned up. By whom? The buddhi. Huh? So calling it the pure mind is just not giving credit to the buddhi. That's okay. But the work has been done by the buddhi, right? The buddhi is that which is responsible for regulating, moderating, cleaning up this mind by giving it the right direction. So whether you call it buddhi or pure mind, same thing. Astha is the same, which can be grasped by the pure mind, by the buddhi. In the depth of meditation, your buddhi is what takes you to that state, right? A state which transcends the senses, and wherein established he never moves. It's a permanent state. Once you experience the supreme bliss, once you experience this enlightenment, it's a permanent state. There's no coming back. There's no wish to come back. What will you come back to? It's a permanent change. You may continue to live in this world, but what you have been exposed to will change you forever and ever. Just like any growth will change you forever, doesn't it? Once you know something, once you realize something, once you grow, you can't ungrow. You can't unknow it. It changes you. So, when the yogi achieves that, and he continues in verse number 22, Yam labdhva cha param labham manyatena tataha yasmin sthito na dukkhena gurunapi vichalyate. Yam labdhva cha param labham manyatena tataha yasmin sthito na dukkhena gurunapi vichalyate. And having obtained which, he thinks of no other gain superior to it, wherein established he is not moved even by great sorrow. This is what I want you all to focus on. He is not moved even by great sorrow. So having achieved this state, having achieved that complete silence of meditation, having attained the deepest of sukham atyantikam, the supreme bliss of meditation, he realizes there is no gain superior to it. Yam labdhva cha param labham. Para means higher. Apara means out here, apara means other. Okay. So having obtained which, he thinks of no other gain. Labham. Other labham. Aparam labham. Having gained this state, he realizes yallabha na param labham. There's no higher gain. There's no other gain superior to it. It's like once you realize the value of something better, you won't. A child will. A child who doesn't understand the value of money will happily take toys, will happily take candies. Similarly, you and I, who don't understand the value of spiritual bliss, are happily taking worldly pleasures. Oh Lord, please give me sukh, please give me wealth, please give me health. This is the extent to which these are our candies. These are the toys for which we are happy to forsake. the much more valuable spiritual bliss. But having gained the spiritual bliss, he realizes all of that was just loose change. There's no other gain superior to it. Now, you may think I'm being facetious. You may think I'm diminishing your life and my life. No. Yeah, pashyati sa pashyati. I'm only trying to convey what the sages are saying. I'm in your boat only. But I'm only trying to convey what the sages have been saying. Moodhamate, you fool, you don't realize what you're missing out on. How else will they say it? After a point, they also descend to calling us fools. Don't you realize what you're missing out on? Having obtained which, he thinks of no other gain superior to it. Wherein established, once having reached there, he is not moved even by great sorrow. You become solid. Now look, I've always said it's not all or nothing. It's not 0 or 100. Even as you grow on this path, you become far more sturdier as a person. You become a lighthouse. You become more stable so that others can rely upon you in a time of crisis. Taking that to the extreme, even by great sorrow, you're not moved. What is the greatest sorrow you can conceive? Please don't have to conceive it. Because at this stage, at your stage, at my stage, it only brings us pain. But here is a person who is able to withstand. And you need such people. Why? Because the world is an admixture of pleasure and pain. There is great sorrow, just as there is great joy. Such a person becomes a refuge for everyone else. Margadarshak. Such a person becomes an ashram where one can gain ashraya, refuge. Such a person sees things as they are. Such a person sees the cycle of karma taking its course. He is not moved. This is not to diminish the depth of the sorrow. It doesn't mean that you and I should not be moved by great sorrow. It's not saying that, oh, the sorrow is nothing. No, the sorrow is great. It's only highlighting that state of objectivity this person has reached. It's not diminishing the sorrow, it's only showing us the pedestal upon which this person has attained. So, this is the description of a yogi, O Arjuna. I can go on and on talking about this glorious state, which in fact can be attained by one and all. It's not something that is reserved only for people of a certain name or a certain caste or a certain community. Nothing like that. Every human being who's willing to put in the work can achieve this state. Verse number 23. We'll take up this last verse. Tam vidya dukkha samyogaha viyogam yoga sannitam sanishchayena yoktavyaha yogo nirvinna chetasa savidya dukkha samyogaha viyogam yoga sannitam sanishchayena yoktavyaha yogo nirvinna chetasa. Let that be known as the yoga of severance from the union with pain. That yoga should be practiced with determination and with an undespairing mind. Now remember, he's talking, the reason he's using this language also of pain, of sorrow, of freedom from sorrow, is because he's talking to Arjuna, who's in the middle of a crisis, who's in the middle of experiencing a great sorrow, right? So he's only reassuring Arjuna that this sorrow which you are experiencing, it can be overcome with this pursuit, with this objectivity. So let this be known, whatever we have discussed, let this process, karma, bhakti, jnana, dhyana, this is the process of yoga of severance from union with pain. Currently, we are united with pain. Currently, we are fragile creatures who are only trying to avoid pain. If I get that, I'll save myself from pain. Why? Because if I don't get it, I'll be hurt. We are constantly united with pain and trying to save ourselves from it. But this yoga will sever you from this unholy union. This yoga will help you unite with the higher and free you from this lower union with pain that we are all caught up in. It should be practiced with determination and an undespairing mind. It it's not something that's a part-time pastime. It's something that has to be done with full conviction. It's something that has to be done with full determination, and gradually, slowly, your conviction in this grows. Gradually it builds. Ultimately, gradually you become undespairing. You become what's the word I'm looking for? Unapologetic on this path. I can speak from my own experience. 15 years, heaven and earth difference in the conviction. So this is a conviction that grows. If you don't have the full determination right now, don't worry. It grows with time. It grows with your sadhana. But it must be practiced. Ultimately, this is what it demands out of you. This path of karma, bhakti, jnana, yoga requires determination. It must not be given in, you must not give in to distractions. You must not give in to despair. You must not give in to the lack of growth, because growth is slow in this. It's gradual, it's very slow. You'll keep making the same mistakes, but you must be undespairing in your efforts. Oh Arjuna, if you are undespairing and determined in your efforts, you will be severed from all this pain. This union with pain that you have, you will be liberated from it. That's my guarantee. We'll continue with the next verse and the following verses in the next class. I do have a hard stop today, so I can't take up any further questions. But nonetheless, thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you again.
I will get on to it.
Thank you so much.
See you again.
Thank you,
so
Ji.
much, sir.
I'll
Tuesday?
I'll
Thank
message
you, sir.
I'll message on the group when we will meet again, either on Monday or on Tuesday. Okay, either on Monday or on Tuesday, depending on my travel plans. I will send a message. So thank you so much, and we'll
Thank
see you.
you. Hari Om
Thank you.
Ji.
Thank you.